Hi, boys and girls. It is lesson 1-13, the last lesson of Unit 1. I wonder what's going to happen next week. Hmm. Anyway, we are going to be working on finding the perimeter of squares and rectangles. All right, so let's get started. We have a math message, and this math message is on the top of journal page 32. So you can access it through Kami, or you can look at it in your real book. If you are coming to school, make sure you bring that book with you. Your journal should always travel to and from school every day. Anyway, the math message, we have this square here. Find the perimeter of it, and then convert your answer into inches. So, what is the perimeter of this square? Or a better question would be, what is perimeter? And perimeter is the length of a boundary of a closed shape. So it's essentially you take the edge, the measurement of every edge, and you add it up. Okay, so that right there is a pretty easy concept, but we have to not confuse it with area. Area is the measurement of the interior space of a closed shape. So perimeter, the outside edge, area, the entire space inside. And it has a different kind of unit, and we'll get to that much later. But perimeter is given as an answer in terms of like a length. We imagine that we take all of these sides and stretch them out into one length. Okay, so we are going to be using some formulas to find the perimeter of squares and rectangles. And we're going to be using two different values, length and width. Now, technically, length really isn't one thing or the other. But generally, length is the longer of the two sides of a rectangle. And then the width is the side that is adjacent to it, which is a fancy word for next to. Okay, so width is right next to length when we're talking about area. So let's get back to that math message that we had before. And that was right here. Finding the perimeter of the square in feet. So what are we going to do? I'm going to give you a second to work on it. And when you're ready, unpause the video and we're going to continue. Okay, so since we're finding the measurement of the outside edge of this square, we only have one number. What are the other sides? Well, it's a square. That's a clue. Yes, all squares have equal sides all the way around. So we have a 2. I swear that's a 2. Another 2. And another 2. So how did you find the perimeter? Well, we added up the sides, right? So that's something that we can say here. I added up the sides of the square by adding 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 8. Okay, now the second part was finding this in inches or converting that answer to inches. And we have to make sure we put our answer here too. It's 8 feet, right? That is an important piece of any answer, is that we make sure we have our unit if it's a word problem. So 8 feet, right? And if we were I'm going to put a little period there for that sentence. Um, if we're just writing an equation, we don't necessarily need to include the label because the equation is in a way the mental process, the work. But our answers need to have that label. So I want us to understand that difference a little bit. Now, how many inches is that? Well, how many inches are in a foot? Yes, 12 inches per foot. So you have two different approaches. You could multiply 8 times 12, or we could add up 12 8 times. I don't really feel like writing that out, do I? 8 times 12. Now, this is a fact that some of you may be comfortable with already. Some of us might need to work with it a little bit because we haven't really done big, work with multiplication facts, but we do need to work on getting to being automatic with facts like this. But I'm going to help us out a little bit. I'm going to split it up into two parts. 8 times 10 and 8 times 2. And that is a little more manageable. What's 8 times 10? It's 80 plus 8 times 2, 16. So those two together make 96. 96 inches. There we go. Okay, so that's our math message. But let's get back into talking about perimeter and talking about using a formula. A formula is, in a way, like I've been talking before, a recipe. It's a certain process that we go through every time when we are trying to solve a certain type of problem. So when we are trying to find perimeter of a rectangle, we are going to be doing the same process every time and just substituting whatever those values are of length and width. So what we did with the square was we added up all the sides. Same thing happens with rectangles. We add up all the sides. And with this particular problem, or this particular diagram, it shows you that the length is here and the width is here, right? And with that square back here, would I be able to figure out the perimeter of a rectangle if I just had one measurement on the side? Probably not, because rectangles, like this one down here, have two different measurements. This one here has 9, this one here has 15. So we need to know at least those two values, 15 and 9 in this case, but over here, we just call them length and width, right? And so we want to make sure that we're adding up two lengths because we have one length here and one length here, and two widths, one width here and one width here. And with that, we can then get our answer, okay? And that is the formula for perimeter. Now, you may know some things about this formula and know that, hey, look, there's two lengths and two widths. That's what these abbreviations are for, the L and the W. So if I combine the two L's together and just called it 2L or 2 times L and 2W or 2 times W, that's another way to write this formula. And it looks like this. Perimeter equals 2 times L plus 2 times W. And that's another way to get perimeter. And yet there's another. Another way is that we actually add up the length and the width first, and then we multiply it times 2. So if we took these two values, combined them, then we multiplied it by 2, we would know that the other two values are going to be part of that. Okay, so, oops, let's get into looking at a couple more rectangles. I want you to think about what your favorite strategy was that I just mentioned, and I will help you out by writing them on the top here. So P, hold on, turn on the drawing tool, and I'm going to use blue anyway. So P equals length plus length plus width plus width. That's one way to do it. Another way is 2L plus 2W. I don't know why my 2's are missing a piece. And ooh, oh no, that's a really ugly 2. Let's erase it and do it again. Gone. I'm going to rewrite that. Okay, let's try it again. Oh no, and I deleted my picture. I'm not quite sure how that one got in there. All right, well, we are going to roll with it. Okay, I'm just going to move it down here, and we are going to roll with it. So I'm going to use my text tool this time. So P equals L plus L plus W plus W. I'll make that font much bigger so we can see it. Okay. Another way we can do is P equals 2L plus 2W. I don't want a capital W. I want a lowercase w. All right. And then the third way, P equals 2 times L plus W. You add those together and then multiply it by 2. So there's lots of choices here. And for this one, we got all the sides already labeled. So it's pretty easy. What we're going to do is just add them all up, right? But what if we don't have all the sides, like this one here? Well, we need to use one of these formulas. We have the length, we have the width, and we can do the rest. Okay, so in this case, my pen tool isn't working. In this case, P equals 10 plus 10 plus 6 plus 6, which is equal to 20 plus 6 and 6, 32, right? And we could have done it a different way. We could have said 10 plus 6 is 16 times 2 is 32. So these are some of the strategies that we're going to use for finding perimeter. I want you to work on the very least the first page, page 32 of this lesson. Kind of done some work for you already. And part of it is measuring different things in, well, it says your classroom, but you can obviously do this at home. So measure some rectangular objects and find the perimeter. And you can certainly round off the numbers to make it a little more easy, or just find objects that are easy to work with rather than having partial numbers. Okay, so you should find the length, you should find the width, you should write your formula, and you should figure out the perimeter. Okay, so we have some different formula options, and they're right here. And then we have some additional problems that we'll work on tomorrow too. Okay, so good luck, and I will see you soon.